Welcome to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast, a storytelling platform exploring perception, identity, and the moments that quietly shape who we become. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. This work began on the stage, but it developed into a broader storytelling platform. A space for honesty, for perspective, and for the conversations we may not usually say out loud. Here, we don't shrink to fit. We don't dim to survive the room. We show up, aware, expanding, and becoming. This is She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories, intentional impact. Let's begin.
Welcome to She Thinks She's Cute podcast. I'm your guest host, Tonya, and today I have a very special conversation for you. I'm sitting down with Denise Williams, the creator, producer, and visionary behind She Thinks She's Cute stage production. We are talking about the upcoming show happening this Saturday, April 25th at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Denise, welcome to your own podcast.
Hi, Tonya. Hello, everyone. Welcome, and it's great to be here.
This show is coming up this weekend, and I know this isn't just another event for you. What does this production mean to you personally right now?
This production means a lot to me, Tonya, because it represents more than a performance. It represents commitment and resilience, vision, and obedience. She Thinks She's Cute has always been about more than drama on stage. It's about the assumptions some women make about one another, the tension that grows when insecurity goes unchecked, and the opportunity we have to choose something better. For me personally, this production also represents return. It represents not giving up on what I know I am assigned to build. There was a time when the postponement could have made me question the whole journey, but instead it taught me how to lead differently. It taught me that timing matters, preparation matters, and not every pause means to stop. Sometimes a pause is what protects the promised.
I want to talk about that because I think a lot of people experience setbacks, delays, and disappointment, especially when they've worked hard for something. I have to ask, because our listeners have been following this journey, we had a postponement, and I know that was not easy. Can you take us back to that moment and what it felt like to make that decision? What was that experience like for you?
Honestly, Tonya, it was hard. When you carry a vision, especially one that involves so many moving parts and so many people, like She Thinks She's Cute stage production, postponement can feel personal. It can feel like everything that you've built is being interrupted. At the time of the postponement, I was managing so many components at once: the creative direction, the production planning, people, logistics, communication, the marketing, the graphic designs, expectations, timing, and the weight of wanting everything to come together well. But what I have come to understand is that the postponement was not a failure. It was a form of stewardship. My body was telling me something that my calendar was not ready to hear. And what made the season challenging was not just the postponement itself, it was also what it forced me to face. It made me confront where how much pressure I had normalized. It made me look at how easy it is to stay in motion and call it responsibility, when sometimes what is really needed is clarity. So this season, that season of the pause, the strategic stillness, taught me something I now talk about, which is strategic stillness. Stillness is not always delay. Sometimes it's strategy, and I had to live that before I could write about it.
What would you say the postponement taught you as a leader and as a creator?
What did the postponement teach me as a leader and as a creator? It taught me that leadership is not just about carrying a vision. It also it is also about stewarding and stewarding well. It taught me that discernment matters just as much as drive. And anyone can choose to keep pushing for whatever reason. Anyone can choose to keep moving, to keep pushing through. But wisdom, it asks a different question. Wisdom asks whether the movement is aligned. So I learned how to lead from another level of clarity. I learned how to better protect the work, to protect the people connected to the work, and to protect my own capacity. And I think that is one of the deepest lessons from this season is restraint is not weakness. Restraint is strength under direction. There are times when not forcing the movement is actually the most responsible thing to do. And that was not easy for me because I am a hard worker. I am just so motivated, self-disciplined, and just know how to get it done. So that was not easy for me. And there are times when not forcing the movement is actually, I had to accept that is the most responsible thing that can be done in that moment, in that season. And that perspective, it changed how I lead, how I plan, and how I prepare now.
You mentioned strategic stillness, and I definitely want to connect that because your audience has seen you release the book in the middle of all of this. How did this experience shape the message of the book?
It shaped it deeply, Tonya, because the book is not theory for me. The lessons were lived. These are lived experiences that I write about in the book. The book came out of a real season where I had to confront pressure. I had to confront timing, obedience, discernment, and the temptation to force outcomes just because I cared so much. This is why this message matters to me. Strategic stillness is really about understanding that stillness is not doing nothing. It is knowing when stillness is wisdom, when restraint is strength, and how alignment shapes sustainable growth. That became very real for me while I was navigating this production and everything surrounding it.
Tickets on sale now at SheThinksSheCute.com. April 25th, 2026, 2 shows at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Hardin Auditorium in Evans, Georgia. Be in the room.
I relearned, lived to better understand that not every open door is alignment. I learned that some of the best decisions are the ones that you do not rush. And I learned that if something is truly aligned, you do not have to panic to keep it alive. You just have to steward it well.
There may be people listening who remember the postponement and may quietly be wondering, why should I trust this date? What would you say to them?
I would say that is a fair question, and I respect it. What I want people to know is that the postponement was not a matter of irresponsibility. I was dealing with a health issue that was completely beyond my control. And at the same time, I was still in the process of building a team to help carry the weight of this production. Those two things happening simultaneously created a vulnerability that I had not fully anticipated. What I have done since then is learn from that experience and lead with greater intentionality. I took a hard look at the structure, the planning, and the support systems to make sure that this production is not overly dependent on one point of pressure. I have worked to reduce those vulnerabilities and strengthen the operational foundation. So my answer to that question of why should I trust this date is not simply trust me. My answer is that I have done the work. This production is more supported, and it's better prepared, and it's built on a stronger foundation than before. And this show matters deeply to me, and so does the audience, so does the cast, so does the crew, and everyone else who's connected to this production. So I did not just want to return. I wanted to return stronger and more ready than ever.
Let's stay there for a minute because I think that matters. Without giving away every behind the scenes detail, what are some of the steps you taken to avoid another postponement if something urgent happens and you're unable to attend?
What I can say is that I've been more intentional about structure, delegation, and preparedness. I have made sure that there is a stronger support around the production so that the vision is not resting in a fragile way. I pay closer attention to how things are organized, who's handling what, how responsibilities are distributed, and how the production can stay anchored, even if unexpected situations arise. This season has taught me how not to romanticize caring too much. Sometimes we can think being strong means holding everything personally, but that is not always strength. Sometimes strength looks like building support, people that you can trust. And sometimes it takes time to build support, but it's something that you have to be intentional about doing. Sometimes it looks like preparing for the unexpected. And sometimes it looks like being honest about capacity and leading accordingly. So, yes, I have absolutely taken some practical steps. I have slowed down even more so to be more strategic. And I have brought in a local producer out of the Augusta, Georgia area, Imani Sims. And I have my stage manager, who's also a co-producer, who is based out of Atlanta. And she has been empowered to gather the set and all the equipment and everything, the props and everything that would be needed to transport those items to Augusta, if God forbid. And Imani is there in Augusta to be able to go to the building, to be able to oversee that process, to make sure that the front of the house is taken care of, along with the support at the back of the house. So I've been intentional about making those adjustments and making sure that I did have a backup plan, if God forbid, and then we have a backup plan for them as well. And I just believe that this production is better because of it.
Denise, that is real leadership right there. You planned for your own absence. That is something to think about.
Tonya, it really is. And it's something that stillness teaches you, or that's something that stillness taught me, is when you stop moving long enough to look at what you have built, you start asking different questions, not just what do I need to do next, but what needs to be in place so this can stand without me carrying it every single day. She Thinks She Cute it's a movement. It has had momentum from the beginning, and it is so important that the stewardship is in place. And I had to take a moment and just pause in the midst of everything that was happening in order to make sure that we are properly positioned for what is coming next. And so stewardship, that is the core of the themes of both the book and the integrity of She Thinks She's Cute as a company. We're building something that lasts, not something that just looks good in the moment.
For the person listening who has not bought their ticket yet, tell them why they need to be in the room for She Thinks She's Cute stage production.
Tonya, people need to be in the room because this is the kind of story that just hits differently live. There is something powerful about watching these dynamics unfold in real time live on stage. You see the tension, the assumptions, the emotion, the misunderstandings, and the humanity of these women in a way that makes you reflect on your own life. This production opens up conversations we do not always have. How quickly do we judge? How often do we assume? How much damage can insecurity do when it is left unchecked? And what becomes possible when women choose truth and growth and accountability instead? So I also think people should be in the room because this is not just about entertainment. It is an experience that is layered with emotion, thought-provoking, and realness. If you have ever been misunderstood, judged, overlooked, or forced to grow through relational tension, there is something in this story for you. And this is the perfect time to get your tickets because tickets are 2 for 1 thanks to a generous sponsor. So this is a great opportunity to bring someone with you. Bring a friend, bring your sister, bring your coworker, bring your crew, make it a date night. Just come out together and experience it together. We look forward to experiencing it with you.
What makes this return to the stage different from what it would have been before?
What makes this return to the stage different from what it would have been before? This return is different because it has been refined by experience. Before, I had a vision and passion. Now I have a vision, passion, and a new perspective. I understand more clearly what it takes not just to create something meaningful, but to steward it well. The return is not dramatic just for the sake of the drama. It's durable. It comes from a deeper place. It comes from lessons learned in private. It comes from having to sit with the disappointment without giving up on the assignment, being able to process that. It comes to a place where I was grieving one of my pillars, one of my best friends who passed on last year and is usually there with me she's been with for every single show. So it comes from that place. And I think audience can feel that kind of weight. They can feel when something has been fought for, protected, and brought forward with intention. We have fought to be here on this Saturday in Evans at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. So that is what makes this return different than what it would have been before.
A lot of listeners are builders too. They have dreams, projects, ministries, businesses, and creative work. What would you say to someone who is dealing with a delay right now and feeling discouraged?
Wow, Tonya, what I would say is to those builders, I would say that delay is not always denial and a pause is not always punishment. Sometimes the things that frustrates us is also the thing that is developing us. Sometimes what feels like interruption is actually instruction. So do not assume that because something slowed down, it's lost its value. And do not assume because the timeline changed, the assignment disappeared. Some things needed stronger structure before they can move forward, as it is with She Thinks She's Cute. Some things need clarity before they need speed. And I would also say this, you do not have to force what is truly for you. There is wisdom in preparation, and there is wisdom in restraint. There is wisdom in letting something mature instead of dragging it forward too early. That does not mean do nothing. It means be intentional about what you build next.
Before we close, I want to make sure we are very clear. Tell everybody when the show is, what they need to do, and why now is the time to grab their tickets.
She Thinks She's Cute stage production is happening on Saturday, April 25th, this coming Saturday, with 2 shows, one at 3 p.m. and one at 7 p.m. I want people to go ahead and get their tickets because it's going to be a powerful experience. And I truly believe that the room is going to matter. And the tickets, as I mentioned earlier, are 2 for 1 because of a generous sponsor who wants to remain anonymous, which makes this the perfect time to secure your seats and invite someone to come with you. If you've been thinking about coming, then this is your moment. This is not just another date on the calendar for me. It is not just another date on the calendar for the cast and the crew and the team and everyone who's involved. It is the return of something meaningful, something refined, and something I believe people need to experience live. If this story, this message, or the journey has resonated with you in any way, I want to invite you to be in the room. Bring a friend, bring a sister, bring your group, and take advantage of the 2 for 1 offer, which I am extending up through Saturday before the doors open, because I understand as a leader where I am. And we did not cancel this show. We actually postponed this show. And in the midst of that, I can understand why the new date, some may be wondering, well, how can we know that this is going to happen? And what I will say is that although we rescheduled this date from last year, my team worked so diligently to get the rescheduled date within 48 hours of us having to get postponed. We were not able to announce it that quickly because there's a lot of moving parts. So we had to get confirmation from those who were going to be a part of the rescheduled date. But we were able to issue refunds to those who that date didn't work for them. And then for those who stuck through the postponement and you're coming to be with us on the 25th, I want to personally thank you for sticking through this with us and being a part of something meaningful and something refined that's going to take place on this Saturday. And with that being said, we are extending the 2 for 1. For those of you who want to wait a little bit closer to the date to get your tickets, I totally understand. And we are going to accommodate you and extend that offer. So I look forward to personally meeting you on Saturday, shaking your hand, taking a picture, and let's just having a real life experience in that auditorium at Hardin Auditorium in Evans. I cannot wait to see everyone there. I just want to say a special thank you to the cast, thank you to the crew, and once again, to everyone who stayed through the postponement. Thank you to Josh and everyone at the Hardin Auditorium who have also been very helpful through this whole process, this journey.
I love that, Denise. Thank you for your honesty, your leadership, and your heart. This conversation was powerful, and I know it's going to encourage a lot of people while also reminding them to secure their seats. To everyone listening, She Thinks She's Cute stage production is happening this Saturday, April 25th at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. And remember, tickets are now 2 for 1 thanks to a generous sponsor. So this is a great time to grab your seats and bring someone with you. Denise, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much, Tonya. I appreciate it. And I cannot wait to see everyone there on this weekend.
Tickets on sale now at SheThinksSheCute.com. April 25th, 2026, 2 shows at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Hardin Auditorium in Evans, Georgia. Be in the room.
Thank you for listening to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. If this found you at the right moment, hold it, sit with it, share it, let it work. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. The story continues. We'll meet again in the next conversation. Until then, stay cute, stay aware, stay aligned, and stay becoming. She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories. Intentional impact.
Some seasons do not unfold the way you planned. When my stage production had to be postponed, I found myself in a season I did not choose and could not push past. What felt like interruption revealed itself as instruction. What felt like delay became protection. What felt like stillness proved to be strategic. And in the middle of that season, I wrote a book, Strategic Stillness, When Pausing Protects the Promise. This is not a book about waiting passively. It's about recognizing when restraint is wisdom. It is for leaders, creatives, and vision holders who have felt the pressure to keep going, even when the body, their spirit, or their circumstances were asking for a pause. If progress has slowed, plans have shifted, or movement feels blocked, this book was written for you.
Available now on Amazon. Search Strategic Stillness by Denise Williams. Start your next season with Strategic Stillness.
Visit SheThinksSheCute.com. She Thinks She's Cute is a founder-led creative brand developing original, narrative-driven works across stage, experiential formats, and future screen projects, centered on perception, identity, and the unspoken dynamics that shape how we see ourselves and one another. Original stories, intentional impact. SheThinksSheCute.com.
She thinks she's cute, yes, she is. Every step she takes, she walks in power. She thinks she's cute, and she is. She thinks she's cute, and she is, yes.